Evelyn Harper, 62, and suffocating in the manicured perfection of Meadow Creek Estates, found her only thrill behind crimson floral curtains. Her days were a monotonous ballet of dusting faux antiques, watching daytime soaps, and microwaving bland dinners. Years since her husband, George, had passed, leaving her with nothing but an inheritance and a hollow routine. But the windows, those were different. Meadow Creek was a hive of secrets, she knew it. Behind every perfectly trimmed hedge and meticulously chosen mailbox lay a story waiting to be uncovered. From her vantage point, she observed the comings and goings, the fleeting smiles, and tense exchanges, constructing narratives in her mind, mysteries to be solved in the quiet hours of her long, uneventful days. It was a harmless hobby, she told herself, a way to alleviate the boredom, a small rebellion against the soul-crushing complacency that threatened to consume her. This neighborhood, like so many, had its dark corners, its unsolved mysteries hidden beneath a veneer of order. And Evelyn, armed with her crimson curtains and a keen eye, was determined to find. The moving truck lumbered onto Elm Street like a rude awakening. For months, the old Cartwright place had sat empty, a silent testament to vanished dreams. Now, a new occupant, a black man, was changing the landscape. Evelyn learned his name from a fleeting glimpse of the delivery manifest. Architect, it read. But to Evelyn's watchful eyes he was first and foremost different. He moved with a quiet confidence, his dark, tailored coat a stark contrast to the suburban pastels surrounding him. His hands, calloused but elegant, directed the movers with precise gestures. Unsolved mystery stories always began like this, with an outsider disrupting the established order. Evelyn's heart quickened. Her prejudices, long dormant, stirred within her. Was this journey of discovery about to begin? This new neighbor was not just someone moving in. He was a disruption, a question mark, etched onto the carefully curated facade of Meadow Creek Estates, and Evelyn intended to find the answer. The brass key glinted in the afternoon sun, a final damning piece of evidence. Darius Walker, with no fanfare, unlocked the Cartwright's front door. A delivery person wouldn't need a key, nor would a prospective buyer. He was either squatting or planning something worse. Evelyn's breath hitched. He had no right. Her fingers, trembling with a mix of fear and righteous indignation, dialed 911. The operator's calm voice was a distant hum as Evelyn's mind raced, fueled by years of ingrained bias and whispered anxieties. The neighborhood couldn't risk a potential disturbance. She told the operator of the suspicious new neighbor, Darius. This could turn into a thrilling story or a total nightmare. The flashing lights painted the pristine lawns of Meadow Creek Estates in an unflattering red and blue. Two officers, their faces impassive, stood between Evelyn and Darius. "Ma'am," one officer said, his tone suggesting she was wasting their time, "Mr. Walker has provided proof of ownership." Darius watched her, a mixture of disappointment and something else Evelyn couldn't decipher in his gaze. Shame should have consumed her, but instead, a stubborn defiance took root. She muttered, loud enough for him to hear, "But he didn't get it legitimately, I know it." The officers exchanged a look. The crowd gathering now just knew her as the racist neighbor lady, and Evelyn had no intention to let the world believe she was wrong. The transformation was subtle, almost imperceptible, but Evelyn noticed it. A glint of glass in the eaves of Darius's house, angled directly towards her own. New floodlights, harsh and unblinking, illuminating her front yard with unsettling clarity. It was a security system, state-of-the-art, and Evelyn knew instinctively it was directed at her. Paranoia, a familiar companion, tightened its grip. She tried to dismiss it as mere coincidence, but the timing was too precise, the message too clear. She was being watched. The hunter had become the hunted. This new, thrilling story had a dark side to it. The power dynamic had shifted. Evelyn, who relished her position as the observer, was now the subject of scrutiny. Every trip to the mailbox, every watering of her prize-winning roses, felt like a performance under Darius's unseen gaze. The tension ratcheted up another notch, leaving the air thick with unspoken threats, and the chilling realization that the game had changed. The unsolved mystery was becoming something sinister. The insistent chime of the doorbell shattered the afternoon quiet. Evelyn, her heart hammering against her ribs, peered through the peephole. Darius stood on her porch, his expression unreadable. Curiosity tinged with a frisson of fear compelled her to open the door. "Mrs. Harper," he said, his voice calm, "I believe you dropped something." He held up his phone, the screen displaying a grainy black and white video. It was her, clear as day, lurking near his property at dusk, peering into his windows. The blood drained from her face. He continued, "I had to upgrade my security system when I moved in to prevent any unsolved mysteries. I wouldn't want you to be wrongfully accused of breaking in, Mrs. Harper." The video fast-forwarded, showing her walking past his house on multiple occasions, pausing, observing. Humiliation washed over her in a hot, suffocating wave. This thrilling story quickly took a dark turn for her. He'd turned the tables, exposing her for the busybody she truly was. I don't know what you're talking about," she stammered, but the lie died on her lips. "I think you do," Darius said softly, his gaze unwavering. "Perhaps it's time to acknowledge your biases, Mrs. Harper. It seems you have an interesting hobby, and perhaps, with these newfound images, you can explore that unsolved mystery inside of you before you go accusing others. Because there's only one person here who's obsessed with watching their neighbor." He turned and walked away, leaving Evelyn standing alone, exposed and utterly defeated. Days turned into weeks, each one a silent, tense standoff. Evelyn, haunted by Darius's words, confined herself to her house, the crimson curtains now feeling like prison bars. One evening, a hesitant knock echoed through the silent house. It was Darius. He spoke low. "Mrs. Harper, there's more to this house than meets the eye. More than meets the neighbor's eyes here in town. And I suspect, despite all your efforts, you know it." He continued. "The Cartwrights. They didn't just move. They disappeared. There were whispers, rumors, shady dealings, powerful people, things that Meadow Creek Estates would rather forget. It's like some unsolved mystery or thrilling story left behind. I am on my journey of discovery to see what I can find." He paused, his gaze piercing. "I think, Mrs. Harper, that those crimson curtains of yours have witnessed more than just mundane routines. I know all about the previous owners, but I suspect you have the real story. And this is only the tip of the iceberg, and what happens next will impact the whole town if we are not careful." The air crackled with unspoken accusations, suggesting Evelyn was not just a bystander, but possibly a participant in a decades-old cover-up. And he continued now, "Tell me, what do you really know about the Cartwrights?" Darius's words hung in the air, heavy with implication. Evelyn, shaken, couldn't shake the feeling that she'd been wrong, and that maybe this was one unsolved mystery worth her time. The Cartwrights. She did remember whispers, hushed conversations that stopped abruptly when she approached. A sense of guilt gnawed at her. She had judged Darius based on appearances, but what if her own biases had blinded her to something far more sinister? Driven by a newfound sense of purpose, Evelyn started with Martha, the ever-gossiping neighbor next door. "Martha," she began, trying to sound casual, "do you remember the Cartwrights?" Martha's eyes darted nervously. "Oh, honey, that was so long ago. Why dredge up old history?" Her evasiveness spoke volumes. The journey of discovery had begun, but the road ahead was paved with lies. Something was rotten in Meadow Creek Estates, and Evelyn, the self-proclaimed neighborhood watch, was finally ready to investigate, even at the cost of the lives that she may know. But Martha was a start. The abandoned Meadow Creek Historical Society became their clandestine meeting place. Darius, armed with meticulous research, laid out a map of tangled connections, shell corporations, suspicious property transfers, and a web of local politicians tied to the Cartwrights. They looked like two characters from some thrilling story. The Cartwrights were about to expose a land grab, Darius explained, his voice grim. They were silenced. Evelyn, poring over old newspaper clippings, recognized names, pillars of the community, people she had trusted for years. "Real estate fraud," she whispered, the pieces falling into place. They suppressed a tragedy, buried it under layers of lies to protect their own interests. This unsolved mystery had been right beneath their noses, and they couldn't quite let it go. As they worked together, an unexpected bond formed. Evelyn saw Darius not as a suspicious outsider, but as a determined seeker of justice. Darius, in turn, recognized Evelyn's genuine desire to atone for her past prejudices. They were now allies in an increasingly dangerous game. The deeper they dug, the more apparent it became. This wasn't just about the Cartwrights. It was about the soul of Meadow Creek Estates. The truth was out there. The town hall meeting was packed. Darius, armed with irrefutable evidence, laid bare the Cartwrights' story and the conspiracy that had silenced them. The air crackled with disbelief and outrage. Then he called Evelyn to the stand. All eyes turned to her. It was her moment of truth. She could maintain her silence, protect the comfortable lie she had lived for so long, or she could embrace justice, even if it meant shattering everything she knew. With a deep breath, Evelyn began to speak. She confirmed Darius's allegations, adding damning details gleaned from her own observations over the years. The room erupted in chaos. Accusations flew. Alliances crumbled. The facade of Meadow Creek Estates shattered, revealing the corruption and deceit that had festered beneath the surface for decades. The journey of discovery had ended, exposing the truth. In the aftermath, some of the guilty were brought to justice. Others were shunned, their reputations ruined. And Evelyn? She was forever changed. The crimson curtains remained, but now she looked out with clear eyes, no longer blinded by prejudice, forever mindful of the power of truth and the cost of complacency. The once thrilling story had concluded. From Evelyn Harper's journey through crimson curtains and complacency, powerful life lessons emerge. Firstly, challenge your biases. Evelyn's initial prejudice blinded her to Darius's true character and a deeper community issue. In your life, consciously question assumptions about others, fostering empathy and understanding. Secondly, acknowledge the danger of unchecked complacency. Evelyn's boredom led to intrusive observation, highlighting how stagnation can breed harmful behaviors. Seek active engagement in your life, pursuing passions and challenging yourself to learn and grow. Thirdly, seek truth. While Evelyn's start to uncovering her story wasn't ideal, she learned a valuable lesson. Sometimes it takes an outsider to show you an alternative perspective. Strive for authenticity in your relationships and actions, even when facing discomfort. Lastly, embrace opportunities for redemption. Evelyn chose to expose corruption, proving that personal transformation is always possible. Even after mistakes, commit to positive change, allowing past experiences to guide future actions. Actively applying these insights, you will have the chance to live a more fulfilled and purposeful life.